Hey everybody, Tom here with Hidden Beats, and today we're talking with Josh Sahunta, if I got that right again this time. Okay.
Yep.
I know I screwed it up, I think, last time, so I made sure to practice today.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So this is round two for us. We last talked 2 years ago, like we were just saying, about your release of This Party Sucks, and today we're talking about your Juno nomination for To Be Loved Part 1.
Yes.
For those who are new, can you give a little introduction about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Josh Sahunta. I'm a singer-songwriter, producer, based in Canada, Edmonton to be precise. And yeah, I kind of get compared a lot to being a bit of a like John Mayer, Ed Sheeran, but then also like Daniel Caesar mishmash. And yeah, I've been doing music professionally now since 2020, full time, and it's been a bumpy but really fulfilling road to get here. And now I've got my first Juno nomination under my belt. So that's scary and exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be one of those pinnacles that as a musician in Canada, that's what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
So when you first got the word for that, what was the initial reaction?
I was in complete disbelief. Yeah, it's funny because I was just going about my regular work day and my wife comes running down the stairs and she's like, "You're a Juno nominee." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. What are you talking about?" And she would not joke about something like that. And so like there was a part of me that was like, you're completely lying to my face. And then there's another part where I'm like, wait, you wouldn't do that though. So
Hmm.
I was honestly in complete and utter disbelief. I forget that I apply every year. It's kind of just like clockwork. It's something I just do.
Yeah.
And I never it's like almost like I don't know that there's a possibility that I could be nominated when I apply. It's just like I just apply and I'm just used to not being nominated. And I mean, it's not like I've been applying for that long. I think this is my third time applying. But yeah, it's just like, wait, I can get nominated? Like it's crazy.
So what is the application process like? You're just saying, "Hey, submit this one and this is the one I want to have people look at."
Yeah, so actually, funny enough, I just found out after I submit my application this year that you can actually apply for multiple categories.
Okay.
And I would have, but I didn't know that at the time. I just thought you had to pick one because that's how it is for applications for other awards.
Hmm.
And so I just picked Adult Contemporary Album of the Year because I'm like, that fits the only album that I released last year. So I thought, okay, that's probably going to be the best bet for me. But I would have also, I would have applied for Songwriter of the Year and like, all these other side categories. And I just didn't know I could. And so I applied for one category and I got nominated in that category, which to me is actually crazy because it's almost like putting ballots in a bin, and it's like the more ballots you put in, the more chance you have of being nominated for something. And then here's me with my one little ballot and
Hmm.
that was a lucky one. So I mean, it's pretty surreal.
Yeah, I'd imagine. When you were putting in for the To Be Loved EP, what was like the defining piece that you thought was going to get noticed the most out of that? Like the overall production, or how what did you think was your best part of that?
Yeah, I think the songwriting is was in that record was pretty peak for me. I It's one that it's very personal to me and one that I just loved. And also, it was getting a lot of like really cool attention from big YouTubers like Logan Paul used one of the songs off of that record in his engagement video on YouTube. And when that video came out, it was the number one trending video on all of YouTube. So that was just kind of cool. And I was getting all these little like pats on the back for this album from all these people using it. And so I was like, you know what? I think there's something special about this one, and this one is worth applying for.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I released a very commercial record in 2021, and I also applied for that for a Juno for that record, and that one wasn't nominated. So for this one to be nominated is really special, but also like kind of surprising also in a way.
Hmm.
But yeah.
So what was your process like when you were putting together the EP? Like you picked 7 songs. I know last time we talked, you were looking at putting together like a 13 track album.
which I
How
did.
how
Yeah.
do you pick and choose what you're putting on an EP?
It's really just so I'll give you a bit of a backstory on this project. I originally wrote and recorded this project to only be used on film and TV.
Okay.
I was working with this company, I still am, they're called Music Bed, and I basically they wanted an album that was like Ed Sheeran love songs. And so I was like, okay, I can do that. So I wrote about 10 songs in that kind of vein and sent it to them, and those were the 7 that they really, really liked. And basically I was just like making sync royalties off of these songs, and they weren't even on Spotify. And I was like, I'm okay to just leave them here because following the album, like This Party Sucks, for example, is very different than this EP that was nominated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, well, it doesn't really fit if I have This Party Sucks come out and then this album of like love songs, because it's just like kind of out of left field a little bit. But then what happened was this random guy in New York, he downloaded all these songs off of MusicBed and released them under his own name.
Oh, okay.
And he used my voice and everything. It's not like he re-recorded them. Like he literally stripped my song off of MusicBed and released it with his name on it. And that was kind of like my major red flag of like never not just releasing my music again.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, we went through this whole process of getting them taken off of his account and then re-uploaded on mine. And I made a TikTok about this experience and it blew up. And then the Logan Paul thing happened, and then like a few other major YouTubers put it in their videos, and now it's Juno nominated. So it's a really crazy story of how we got here, and considering the fact that I almost didn't even release this record, um, to have it now be nominated is just it's unreal. But
Yeah.
that's the roundabout way of how we got here.
I mean that is a fun story just on its own. Even without the Juno nomination, just the
Yeah,
the craziness that happened with it.
for sure.
So when we last talked, it was 2022. I'm curious how you think your music has evolved since something like This Party Sucks into coming into, 2023, 2024, and
Yeah,
how things go.
I think I have a lot more awareness of who I am as a person and as a songwriter now than I did in 2022. Um, I think a problem that I had in 2022 is that I was just really chasing this like hit song, and I was really chasing this idea of like what will like do well on TikTok. And that was the stupid question I asked myself every time I like thought about releasing a song. I'm like, would this do well on TikTok? And so that kind of had me confining myself into a box of like writing top 40 TikTok songs. And I just now looking back on a lot of the songs I wrote, like they're great songs, but they're not me. Like I wouldn't say things that I wrote about in those songs because I've never experienced them. And so I just found that I was being really inauthentic, and I had to just do a major like, have a major introspective moment where I'm like, who am I? What is my actual story? What do I actually want to write about? And how can I do that in a way that still, is catchy and still has the same elements of the things that made my music mine?
Mm-hmm.
And so now, like, pretty much everything I'm writing these days is very much like, this is what I'm experiencing right in this moment, or this is something that I recently experienced, or something that I think about experiencing someday. And it's never this thing of like, yeah, this is nothing, has nothing to do with who I am, but I just think it would sound cool. And if that is if I do write something like that, I'll often just pitch it to another artist because I'm like, I can't put this out. It's not me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, just having a much better understanding of myself now, I know with a lot more confidence what to say yes and no to when it comes to songs I write and songs I get pitched to collaborate on even.
Now, how hard is it for you because you're a producer, songwriter, everything, how hard is it putting together something for yourself versus doing something specifically for someone else?
It's in a lot of ways harder to make stuff for myself. In fact, right before this call with you, I'm currently working on my May release, and it's tough because I am so like nitpicky on how I like things to sound.
Hmm.
And if I can't get things to sound the way that I want it, that I hear it in my head, it really frustrates me. And then I like quit on a song for a while and I don't come back to it for like a month. Um, Whereas for other people, it's a little easier because they will steer me in the direction and like they will tell me I want it to sound like this. And so I'm just kind of facilitating whatever it is that whatever direction they're giving me. But when it comes to my own music, it's impossible to do that because I'm also the critic and
Yeah.
also the producer. So, it's hard to know what I want it to sound like if I don't fully know what I want it to sound like. So I think that's tough and it's always hard for me to like, put the like push the complete button and like say this is done. I'm good to go on this. And obviously, I've got some key people that I can send stuff to get their opinions, but at the end of the day, like I have to kind of be able to make that call and say, you know what, this is good and this is a good representation of what I wanted it to be.
And you're always your own worst critic too, so that makes everything worse.
Definitely.
Yeah. So when we were talking last too, we were kind of in the middle of COVID, and now everything's back up and running and full of fun and everything. But how do you stay grounded now with the craziness of life?
That's a daily struggle.
Hmm.
And I deal with it very differently every day. Um, I have like a really hard time controlling my anxiety, I think. So like I just feel like I have to keep busy, otherwise I can't like sit still. And I'm like unfortunately I'm a workaholic and like I just, you know, try to get as many things done in a day as I possibly can. And if I get everything on my to-do list done, I'm like, okay, well, what can I get checked off of tomorrow's to-do list? And so I think that's my default, and that has been my default since I was in university, is just always to like work, 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 and like it's always about output. And I think that's just been so horrible for me because I kind of lose sight of like what life is really about. And my wife and I are having our first kid in May, and so I'm really trying to like figure out now before our kid arrives, like how to like shut my laptop off and just like
Mhm.
walk away from work and not think about work because my wife will complain that like I just talk about work all the time. It's like when this is what I do for a living, it's like I'm always thinking about it. People email me at obscene hours of the day because I work with people in England and like when it's like midnight here, people are kind of just waking up and starting their work days in England. So I'm getting like work emails at midnight
Hmm.
and my brain starts firing as soon as I get an email. I'm like, "Oh, I have to reply this right now." So just to be able to like figure out this balance of like, okay, how can I actually literally step away from work, turn on my airplane mode and not think about it. And that's something I'm currently trying to figure out right now.
Well, congrats on the kid. Actually,
Thank you.
I had my first in November 2022. So
Congrats.
she's a year and a half now, and she keeps
Wow.
me absolutely insane.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I
Having a girl
literally,
as well.
yeah, I literally, your whole what you just said right there was the same thing I had to do because with hidden beats, I have like 30 people around the country that do different things. So try to balance everything. And so you'll get there for sure. And
Thank you.
once you have, once the baby comes, it'll change things and you're gonna figure out your balance for sure.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. But it's gonna be life changing, man. It's
Yeah,
a
I
whole
hope.
thing and prepare for
I
most.
I've just heard that no matter how much prep you do, it's all for nothing because you're still blindsided by something.
The
So
only advice I could ever possibly give anybody from my own experiences, make sure your wife is good. Make
yeah,
sure she's taken care of.
for
Everything
sure.
else will fall into place after that.
Yeah. I mean, actually, that's great you say that because that's kind of just been my mindset, even in the pregnancy, is like, I just have to go above and beyond to make sure she's comfortable. Because I mean, like, I would not want to be in her position. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I'm just trying to carry that from now into like, especially early days of the kid being born. But yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
Things will be tough, but like it's gonna click and it's gonna fall into place, and it's the most life-changing thing you'll ever go through. And it's probably gonna prompt some really cool songs coming out of you.
It already is.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting into the fun part of the interview now, and I always ask a few fun questions. And I think we'll start with the toughest one first here.
Oh man.
This one's gonna make you think the most, and it's my favorite. And what's one thing you think should be asked more in interviews that's not asked enough?
I think how are you doing mentally right now? I think that's a cool question. Where are you at in your personal thought life?
Hmm.
I feel like it's an interesting question because first of all, it kind of completely catches someone off guard because I don't think people are asked that enough.
Yeah.
And I feel like you could get some really interesting question or interesting answers to that too.
Yeah, I use that one sometimes depending on the research I've done with interviews too, just because
Nice.
I know there's some people who just really don't want to talk about that type of stuff.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so
And that's
that's
totally
definitely one
awesome.
I've used before.
Totally.
Hmm. This is a fun one. Is who plays you in the movie of your life?
I mean, I feel like I have to choose a brown guy. So like, I have no idea. Maybe there's this movie that just came out called I think it's like Monkey Man or something. But anyways, that actor is also in like Slumdog Millionaire and he's actually a great actor. I'm not just saying this because he's like the only brown dude in like North American film, but he's actually a phenomenal actor. So I don't even remember his name, but probably that guy.
Okay, I know I remember the face from Slumdog Millionaire. I just can't
Yes.
picture a name type of thing.
Yeah, I can't remember the name either, but he looks like he could be my cousin. Like I've actually had friends say like he looks like you in this picture. I'm like classic. But
But do you think he could, I mean, being a good actor, do you think he could do you justice in the part though?
that's a great question. To be honest, everything in at least in like Bollywood films is like choreographed and lip synced anyways. So
Yeah.
I think he'd do a great job lip singing me, but I like having my voice actually be the voice would be probably preferred.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a hard one because it's you have to balance the mannerisms and the
Yes.
attitude and everything with it. So it's interesting when people think about that, they're like, "Oh my God, who?"
Yes, exactly.
This is a new one I was thinking about recently. As a fan of music, what do you think is your favorite concert you've ever attended, just as someone attending a concert?
You know what? I just saw John Mayer solo acoustic back in I want to say early November of last year.
Okay.
And I'm like probably one of the biggest John Mayer fans in the world, and I was a little bit skeptical as to how he was going to keep a stadium entertained for 2 hours with just him and his acoustic guitar.
Hmm.
And I will tell you, it was probably the craziest concert experience of my life. Like it felt as if we were sitting in a house concert with John Mayer, and he just had his acoustic guitar and his voice and he was just doing what only John Mayer can do, and it was phenomenal. Like I've seen John Mayer probably 4 times now, and all with a band except this one solo tour. And I'm like, man, I'm when I got tickets to it, I'm like, oh, it's gonna suck not having like Steve Jordan and Pino Palladino there.
Hmm.
So this is gonna be really interesting just having John by himself. But I did not once in the entire show think, man, it'd be so cool if he had his band right now. It was incredible. And it was so inspiring because I do a lot of my shows with just me and my acoustic guitar. And just to see like this master class on how to do that well,
Hmm.
so freaking inspiring for me. I was like, I left that stadium and like the only thing I wanted to do was like play guitar and like completely revamp my entire set list. So it was
Make you go,
incredible
oh
and it was
damn.
so inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that recently. I'm trying to go back and look at concerts I've been to and which ones kind of hit home. And I think for me, one of the first ones was um Rascal Flatts
Nice.
when they were doing their big tour years upon years ago. It was one of the
Yeah.
first shows I actually went to like as a teenager instead of just like, going for myself to go to a show. And like the production value they put into it back then wasn't huge, but it was something and it was fun and listening to
Yeah.
them live and all that stuff. And there's been a few concerts that have done things like that for me since I've started doing this business too and get to
Nice.
see some things like that.
Well, it'd be cool if you saw them live now and you could like compare that experience of like years ago to, I mean, I guarantee you obviously their production value has probably skyrocketed,
Hmm.
as they're now one of the biggest bands in country music. I feel like that would be pretty incredible to see the difference from like when you saw them to now.
Yeah, that would be actually. I'm hoping to do that with Green Day. I've seen them in the
Nice.
past, and then they're coming to Oshiega, so which is a couple hours drive from here. So I'm thinking to
Nice.
catch them and see what that whole thing looks like after.
After all these years.
Hmm.
That's sick.
Yeah. If you were to introduce yourself to a brand new fan, what would be the first track they'd have to listen to?
Right now, I would say Someone Like You would be probably my bread and butter song. That song has been used in thousands of wedding videos all over the world, and it's on this record that was just nominated. I think it's just like it's one of the best songs I've ever written. Lyrically, melodically, uh, it was complicated as all hell to record because the guitar pattern on it's so complicated.
Hmm.
But it's just like when I hear that song, it's like one of those songs where I'm like, I'm so glad I wrote this. Like I would listen to that song if someone else wrote it and be like, man, I wish I wrote this. And I do have those songs with other artists, but like that song, I'm just like, oh man, it's so cool that this somehow came out of my brain.
Do
So
you, do you
definitely that one.
do you look back at some of your songs and kind of think that like watching where it's gone and be like, wow, okay, I did that.
Absolutely. And I have that a lot when I'll put it this way. I have a really hard time celebrating my wins, and I really have to like force myself to take a step back and see like what I've accomplished with music I've written.
Hmm.
Because otherwise I just forget and I'm just like, okay, on to the next thing. Um, and hearing my music on like big Netflix shows, and then like it's funny because who was it recently? I was listening to in a podcast, this major, major, major celebrity. Um, I can't remember who it was, but he was talking about how him and his wife love watching Love is Blind.
Mm.
And I'm like, he's literally heard my music because I have like 5 or 6 songs in that show across seasons 1 through 5.
Hmm.
And I'm like, this celebrity has heard my music and obviously had no idea that he was listening to my music. But it was just cool. It was like that was a moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, like a song I wrote in my basement is on this massive show that this celebrity dude is like is watching, and it's just like really cool to um to say that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, those accomplishments. You and I are very similar in a lot of things, I think, because those accomplishments, even though they're great accomplishments, you kind of just overlook it sometimes because you're on to the next one right away.
Definitely.
Yeah, I can definitely see that we're very similar in a lot of senses like that.
Nice.
What do you hope fans take away from your music?
I think kind of just going back to what I was saying earlier about just authenticity. I think, I'm uh it it's funny because like I'm turning 30 in April, and I feel like at heart I'm like 60 because I'm like such an old soul, and like
Hmm.
I just don't have a single like party bone in my body, and I like my literal routine every day is like I go to bed between like 9 and 9:30. I wake up at 5 and I go to work out or I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I like, I feel like I have such a like weird 30-year-old schedule. And so, but I'm like completely confident and happy in like the person I am. And I think I hope that that kind of like seeps out through my music, that like
Mhm.
I'm just gonna be my lame self and write my lame songs that if people like and can feel like connected to, then awesome. And if anything, I just hope it like encourages them to like not feel embarrassed if they're like normal like me. Whatever
Mhm.
normal means. I just feel like, I'm a very jeans and t-shirt kind of guy. I don't have like a stage look or like some costume I wear on stage, and I'm just like literally like as normal as you can get. And I've always kind of felt self-conscious about that until like the last year. I'm like finally getting confident and comfortable just being like, I don't have to wear a fancy costume and a cape on stage and, you know, be someone I'm not. I can literally just like go on stage in jeans and a t-shirt, and if people like the music, hell yeah. If they don't, that's fine. So
Mhm.
I think, yeah, long way of answering that question.
No, but it works too, and that so one thing where we do differ is I certainly don't do Brazilian jiu-jitsu or anything like that, but like my schedule, I go to sleep at 2 or 3 in the morning and wake up
Okay.
for 8.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
yeah,
Hey, but man,
that's
if you can function on that, all the power to you. I mean, I like everyone's different in how much sleep they need and how much they can function optimally at. So like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that schedule as long as it works for you, right?
yeah, for me, it's my downtime that I get because of work and everything throughout the day is literally from about 10 o'clock at night till 2.
Right.
So, I either decide to take my time and relax and watch a movie or whatever, or do more work because there's
Yeah.
always like, I think I have after this interview, I think I've got, like, 10 I have to edit.
Oh my gosh.
So, there's always something on the go
Yeah.
and working on show like, I got a show tonight too. I'm gonna go,
Okay.
cover D12. They're here in Ottawa tonight.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, there's always something, and it's just
Totally.
kinda I can function on 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep. Do I
Right.
want to? No, I'd love to sleep in a lot more, but it
Totally.
doesn't work that way.
Definitely. And
But
there's
the idea of being comfortable is like, I don't wear sleeves anywhere really,
right.
so wear what you want, be comfortable in what you feel, and just who cares what everyone else thinks, really.
And you have sick tattoos, so why would you want to wear sleeves?
Yeah, I don't even care about the tattoos, I just need to move, I need to feel
Fair
comfortable.
enough.
I'm a
Fair
big
enough.
boy, so if I feel confined, I'm like, "Oh, this is too much."
Fair enough.
But, like, definitely, I'm glad that you're feeling more comfortable with what you're doing that way because I think everyone should be.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm. What motivates you to keep pursuing music and keep walking down this musical road?
That I would have had a different answer for you the last time I spoke with you. But I think now it's like I'm providing for my family, and this is the best way I know how.
Mhm.
And I've got a degree in psychology, but like I feel like going back down that rabbit hole if I had to would be really tough because I'd have to start from zero and work my way back up.
Yeah.
And had I stayed in my original field of work, I'd probably be doing half decent right now in that too. But I think music has just skyrocketed for me so many times that it's undeniably the thing that I should be doing with my career. And I just have a whole new like appetite for it now, and energy for it because I'm the sole income provider in my household. And if we want to eat, I gotta figure out ways to make it work. And so I've been really fortunate to be able to keep doing that, and I just keep having opportunities popping up, and I'm just going at them and doing everything I can to make sure that they are fruitful and they provide more opportunities. So I think, yeah, that's my biggest motivation is providing for my family. And then also, I'd love to retire my parents. Like both of them have a number of health issues, and they're not fit to work, and they just work because they you know, they can't pay their mortgage otherwise. And so I would love
Mm.
to be able to like take that financial burden off of them. And I feel like music is the best way and the best chance that I have of that happening.
Hmm.
So
I mean, that's a great, you're building your future. You're trying to make everything good for the family. That's, I think, great way to think about things.
sure, thank you.
Hmm. I mean, so that's all the points I have written down here. We went through them nice and smoothly.
Nice.
Um, what's next for you? We have the Juno stuff. You have the May release you were talking about.
Yep.
What else? Any fun stuff happen in the summer?
Yeah, so later in the summer in August, I'm playing I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but we have a place here called Drumheller, and it's kind of the like hotbed of like dinosaur
Hmm. I was
stuff.
actually born in Alberta.
No way.
Yeah, I was born
Whereabouts?
in Wainwright.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, my cousin works at the pharmacy in Wainwright, so I've actually been to Wainwright a
Okay.
few times. That's so funny.
Yeah, I lived in
Uh,
Calgary for a bit too out there.
okay, so you're familiar with Drumheller, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so like they have this very famous venue called Badlands Amphitheater, and it's like this massive outdoor stage surrounded by like the Badlands, and it's like very like the vibe there is so cool.
Hmm.
And so they booked me for a festival they're doing in August, and I'm playing actually 2 nights there.
Okay.
I'm so unbelievably excited for that. I've always wanted to play Badlands. I've seen shows there and just have always felt like it doesn't feel like you're in Alberta. It feels like you're somewhere in like the like Arizona desert or something like that.
Yeah.
It feels like you're in a this in you don't feel like you're in Alberta. I'll just put it that way. And it's just so cool and the vibe is so sick and the sunset over the stage is just everything about it is so picturesque. And so to finally be the band on that stage is going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, that should be pretty cool.
Very excited for that. Yeah.
Hmm. Any final words of wisdom you'd like to leave to people?
Um, I would say, man, something I've been just really uh thinking about a lot lately is just like there's no replacement for hard work. And
Yeah.
I feel like a problem that I see a lot of people I work with and a lot of people I just interact with on a day-to-day basis is experiencing is like they're just looking for shortcuts and we have this kind of like shortcut culture now where it's like what's the quickest way to make the most amount of money and what's the quickest way to become successful and what's the and it's almost like hard work and just showing up every day is not as like sexy sounding, let's say,
Hmm.
as like blowing up on TikTok or like having this happen or whatever. It's like, but I've built my entire career on hard work and I'm not even remotely close to where I'd like my career to be, but I'm able to like, you know, pay my mortgage and put food on the table and like live a pretty comfortable life off of music because I've worked really hard to get it there.
Hmm.
And I'm not famous. I'm not like you wouldn't recognize me walking down the street, but I'm still able to do this and make a full-time living off of it. And, I wouldn't trade that for any amount of fame. So I think, yeah, just I think people have this misconception about what it means to be like a career musician and a full-time musician and they think it's like if you're not famous, then what's the point? But like I just like the fact that my career has taken longer to get more like attention because I've built a really strong foundation and now everything that happens from here on in is going to be just like taking that foundation even further. So,
Hmm.
and I couldn't have done that if I hadn't shown up every single day, even if I didn't want to, even if I was tired and sick and bored and just put in the time and put in the work. So I think in every field, doesn't matter what you do, like you will always reap benefits if you just work hard.
Well, there's that rule that people say you have to put in 10,000 hours to be a professional at something. So
Definitely.
it means do your work and show up and be the hardest working person in the room every day.
Definitely.
Yeah, I completely understand that feeling because I've done the same thing. That Hidden Beats is 10 years old this year. So
Congrats.
yeah, it's been a long run to where we are here, and we're still nowhere near where I want to be. So
Yeah. You'll get there, man. It's always inspiring seeing people like stick to the same project for 10 years like yourself. I mean,
mm,
I can't wait till I get to 10 years. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm just hitting 5 this year, and so, you know, it'll be crazy to see where I'm at when I'm 35, I guess.
yeah. I mean,
So,
I'm gonna sit here and watch you keep on blowing up because I see your name pop up in more and more places every so often. So you're on that right track.
thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Well, it was fun catching up again and getting
Yeah.
to pick your brain a little bit more. And I'm excited. You're gonna go ahead and win this Juno because we're putting that in the world and
Thank you.
making it happen.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll
And
see.
I'm looking forward to the next one.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it's great talking to you again, and I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, anytime if you want to even just come on and pitch something else or say, hey, let's work on a project, I'm always available.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You as well.
And bye now.